and welcome back to the channel! It's me, Indi, and I'm here today to show you a couple of little beauty secrets, because at the end of the day, I do like my makeup, yes. So I'm going to be recreating a little look for you from one of my Slayonetta looks with Raven. And yeah, so I'm going to show you how I went from this to this! We are going to switch over to voiceover so I can really get in depth with kind of the things I'm doing as I'm doing them. I just think it'll be easier to explain that way and to show you some more things. Now, makeup's a journey, and I'm not here to say to anyone this is how you should do something, this is how you shouldn't. All I want to do is simply show you a bit of my process and a bit behind the scenes of what goes into the glam. And maybe it can inspire you to try something new with your makeup. Maybe it can inspire you to just have a bit of fun, or just sit there and watch it because I'm a hideous troll and that's all for your enjoyment. Yeah. So I'm going to go put in some contact lenses and we will get started. So first things first, contacts are in. These are from pinkyparadise.com, and we are getting the sideburns glued down with the trusty Elmer's glue stick. Lovely, look at that. Right, so we're really working that into the base of the hair, getting all the edges and smoothing it down with a fine-tooth comb. This is just my way of doing it. There are many ways of doing these things, but you know, get into it. So we go on with the second layer, and I do this before on both sides so I can make sure it dries during everything else. So we prime our eyes with the Sigma Beauty Eye Primer in the shade Persuade, and it matches my skin so perfectly. I've literally found my favourite ever thing. So I just use my fingers to blend that in because I find that the warmth helps to really sink into the pores. And now with an angled liner brush, a nice fine one, and the Morphe Latte Brow Cream, we're going to start sketching out our brow. Now I use nice little soft strokes. I pretty much place the brush onto my face to start and just flick up, and finish off with a nice smooth stroke to get that nice definition we want for the brow. And then doubling back on myself just to get a little bit more texture, a little bit more thickness, and to help refine the shape. But at this point, generally, we don't need to be too perfect. Get it on and we will tidy everything up just a little bit later. So now I've changed the angle of my brush and we're working sideways to really smooth out that lower brow line and feather that up into the strokes we've just made. Yes, fiesta. I am a brow queen. I love doing brows. I feel like they're always my first step because they give you a brilliant frame to work with. And now once I've done that on the opposite side, I just go back in just to double check that we've got nice balance going on. Okay, so now moving on to the Infinite Concealer in shade C0, which is pure white. We're going to clean up that brow line. At the end of the day, this is a fabulous product that really actually does cover pretty much anything. I've got so many people using this, so you know, pick this up wherever you can get. I use my finger to blend it out, tapping very gently along the line. And today's eye look will be from the Trixie and Juno palette. So we're gonna set this down with the white from the palette, which is shade Bonehilda, and we're just tapping and tapping that into the concealer we've already laid down. We're smoothing it and stroking it out towards the edge to get a nice consistency. We're going back into the brow once that's set with a little bit of good old Pluto Root, which is this dark brown shade, which is neutral enough to give my brow some extra texture and definition. So once we've done that at the edges, we go back to the center to try and soften that brow line as it meets the nose, just a little bit like so. Just tapping and gently brushing to soften things up and balance them. Now it's time for my favorite shade from this palette, Lavendrous. On a nice domed fluffy brush, we're going to start blending out our eyeshadow. Now, I love this shade. Look how it just blends into this white. Oh, it's so beautiful. Like, oh, anywho. So we're blending up and out towards the tip of our eyebrow. I always like to try and lift this part of my face. I've got some good real estate on the forehead. So, you know, girl, we are working it all out. So backwards and forwards, we're blending that in, kind of short backward and forwards movements with this kind of brush. Does the trick to give you a nice blend. So we're going to copy that as well down by the lower waterline. This is creating, yet again, more basis for the shape of the eye that we're going to create. We're going for a nice little lavendrous, gorgeous purple look today, because why the blooming hell not? So we're going to dip into the shade Wormhole now and really push in the contours and the saturation of this eye look. So I'm tapping it just into my waterline here and feathering out both towards the edge where your liner would be, and then moving down forwards just beneath the waterline to give the illusion that my eye is like bigger, popping, living, slaying, all of that stuff. So we're mirroring that on the top lash line. Using a small rounded dense blending brush, we are getting up in here, honey. We are giving this lavender colour a nice bit of backbone, bit of strength, and we're just bit by bit slowly bringing that shade up and out. Now clearly this clip is sped up, so don't take it as it happening this quick. It does take time to perfect a gorgeous blend. So take your time. And look at that lovely purple. So now we're going in to cut the crease with a flat angled liner brush and the Infinite Longwear Concealer by Makeup Revolution. And honey, this stuff is so white, it literally, I'm not doing no cotton pads nor nothing, honey. I'm getting up in here. Life's too short, you know, live it. But yeah, so sketched in my cut crease along the bottom of the darkest part of my shadow, and now we're working on the inner corner, and I usually blend that down into what will become my nose contour. And then softening them edges, we pencil in the second liner that I do. I swear I do like 3 liners every time, but we live. And this actually, I've got very hooded eyes, right? And my aim is to open them. So this actually is pretty much halfway through my eyelid and not at all my lower lash line. But yes, we're going to move into the corner of the eye in the center. We're filling in the waterline with a bit of that concealer as well. I'm not saying you should do this, but this is what I do. Okay, honey? So we get that on and we blend that into the cut crease we've already created on the top line. There we go, just sweeping the product across and blending things out. And then once we have this shape, we blend once again. This is all creating like an underpaint for what is going to become the nose contour. And can you see how it's almost like instantly given me this nose contour out of nowhere? Love it. So we're now going back into the Juno and Trixie palette with Bonehilda and just setting all of those whites to make sure they're nice and smooth, make sure the texture is nice and even, and there we go. So now we're going to jump into Snosberry for a hot potato second, and we're going to just darken, get this nice dark blue and darken all of these shadows just up against the white to really give it that 3D contrast. We're not aiming for a liner here. As you can see, it's nice and soft. We're just adding that opacity and depth. We're going to mirror that under the lash line as well to create what is our new waterline. Just dragging that gently across so that we've got some kind of opacity under the eye. Love that. So, once you're here at this point, we're going to start with our liner. This is the Void liner. It's from Beauty Bay. And this stuff is black, honey. Like, we live. Look at that swoop. Now, I will admit, right, not only are my eyelids saggy, but my product is dry. So deal with me. But my remedy to that is to use the brush in flat motions and to just press in the shape of your new eyeliner. Now, I always do my eyeliner with my eyes open, looking directly forward. If you are hooded eyed, then this is the technique for you. So once we've drawn our main line, I'm not too picky about processing the liner at the moment, and you'll see why in a moment. But we're just filling in and sketching out what will be my eyeliner. So we're going to fill it in now with more of the Beauty Bay liner and move to the Beauty Bay neutral palette. Now, I will say I love this palette and this black. The black on top of the liner, it really does give it gives you what you need. It gives you all the mattifying you were looking for. You end up with a perfect smooth black appearance to your liner, which is what everyone wants. So we get some of that jet shadow back onto the flat angled liner brush and use that now to really define and use an upward motion at the end so that we can get that gorgeous point. Now your eyes are finished. It is time to get on to the skin, hunty. This is a hateful setting spray that I got from a charity shop for £1.50. Don't buy that. Elf, yes, we live for Elf. So this is the Elf Camo Powder Foundation, and I love this stuff. It's like a serum infused one or something. Don't get me wrong, I'm not a scientist and I don't claim to be, but we're powdering down our sides and getting on some Primani dupe Bobbi Brown girls, because that's what this channel is all about. A diva on a budget making it work. Anyway, now we're done with that, let's get on to the base. So now with a flat foundation brush and the Makeup Revolution Pro Full Cover Camouflage Foundation, which is my fave, we're going to stamp that into the skin in a nice stamping circular motion, trying to avoid places like the under eye for now. And now we're going to move on to covering our glued down sides. This stuff is power, but I would recommend that you do a color correction stage underneath this if you're planning to have it exposed. However, this is going under a lace front, girls. I really couldn't give two flying gidgets, could I? So we're going to do the same thing again, tapping it into that glued down hair, but we're pushing it in. We're not dragging or sliding. We need to get all the coverage we can out of it. So we're pushing it in. We're coming down slightly onto the face, but more than anything trying to drag that up into our forehead and cover that side down nice and easy. Like, look at that coverage. I think that this Revolution foundation is actually not even being sold anymore, but you can find it, and genuinely my last two, I got them in Home Bargains, babe. £1.99, stunning. So with the Elf Camo Concealer, we're going in now in the shade Fair Beige and plopping that, yes, right just above your lip by the side of your nose. That's the perfect place for your concealer. Yes, so welcome. We are definitely using makeup in a God-honouring way and bringing it all the way up into a line that almost meets my eyeshadow. And then we're using tapping, kind of softly moving up motion to blend my eyeshadow in with the new concealer. Like you'll see, there's not a lot of dragging going on. We push that stuff in, honey. So we repeat that on the other side, put a dot on the chin, and once again we're patting in, girls. Look at that, I got a new chin. Oh, don't you love a chin plasty? Thank you. Diolch yn fawr iawn. Right, so we're gonna pat that in, trying to keep it nice and controlled, and the last few little swirls I find just smooth out those edges and give you a nice new little chinny winny. Oh, look at that. Isn't that stunning? A little bit for the forehead. We're gonna plop some concealer on the top lip as well. And we're just really now trying to concentrate on the lights that I have on my face. Really pull out that bridge of the nose there at the top center. I don't do too much with my nose, but one thing I do really concentrate on is my forehead contour and that part where my bridge piercing is, because I feel like it makes a major difference. So now adding a little bit more concealer under the eyeshadow towards the outer edges of the cheekbones, we're just going to squeeze our concealer brush and pat in once again. Right up at them corners, we squeeze it together just like that and lightly tap onto the eyeshadow, blending upwards and outwards to make your concealer and eyeshadow look flawless. So now we're contouring using the same foundation we used earlier, decanting the product onto my hand and pushing the product into the brush before I put it to the foundation. And you can see I'm looking straight forward and applying my contour quite high up compared to my natural features. It's literally in my hairline, alright? So we're just stamping that product into the face, okay? Getting a nice soft blend into that concealer and up and out into the hairline. Now the excess is going to be used to come up now and wrap around into what would be the brow bone, just onto my temple, and this is going to start to create our forehead contour. Now with whatever's left on the brush, we're just softening those lines, doing more blending, because you know, we're trying not to blend it to death, but we need to have it relatively soft. So now mirroring our contour technique, but using the jawline, and what I do here is always start at the bit that I want to minimize the most and drag the product from there. You get a much better shadow going on. So now to match it up, we're going to look straight forward at ourselves and place our first bit of product, doing the same thing by decanting it onto your hand, right? And then we're going to move it down in towards the center of the face. I then set this all off camera with some translucent powder, and now we're on to blush. The flamingo shade in the palette is bomb for blush for someone who's really fair like me. Like, give it to me. I literally drench myself in it. But I like to put it on the outer parts of my face, really to kind of like help round those pieces and just give me that, you know, bit on a jog flush. And then once we're done blending that blush nicely into the cheeks, we move down to the jaw and basically repeat. I like to give everything a bit of the same, a bit of the same, here, a bit of the same colour. So the nose, I literally just blush the tip, and then I will literally just like plonk it in the middle of my nose. I know, heinous behaviour, but I live. So I then bring it up slightly around the chin to round that out a little bit, and use any residue that's left into the forehead, just to give it a nice natural looking colour. And here we go with the blush that no one asked for, but I gave it to you. I love it. Now moving on to the Beauty Bay palette again, we're going to use this shade called Slip, which is like the perfect neutral contour for me. And I just take a small bit on the edge of that blush brush I've been using and just pop it deep into like the socket of my cheek, so to speak. And look, it just gives that nice bit of shadow on top of all this bronzing and colour we've done. But yeah, so I'll concentrate that once again on the area that I want to shave down the most, and just blend from there, and then blend out down the neck. Can't stress that one enough. If you're going to do this, blend your neck, sissies. Goodness. So once again into the forehead, we're just adding to the whole colour of everything. You'll see I pretty much put oh well. Cthulhu fingers. Yeah. So I do this face specifically so I can see the part of my chin I want to contour, and I put it on the chunky bit. So now this is all I do with my nose. I just add a little bit of this same shade, the residue, onto my nose. So back to the e.l.f. camo powder. We're about to set all of our high points and add a bit more coverage. So we're going right in where we placed our concealer originally, and just tapping and sweeping up and outwards from that spot. And then we're pressing it into the upper lip as well to get rid of any unwanted texture, love. We highlight the jawline as well to really make that contour pop, and just extend it slightly up towards the ear. Give you that snatched chin. Oh, how dare you. Then to accentuate that 3D effect, I'll really bust up the coverage right there in front of my ear, just to kind of give that whites and peaks and valleys as well. Not that it's even white, but you get me. Same on the chin. And same here by the nose. This is where I really define my nose contour. We squeeze the brush with a load of powder. There we go. Brand new nose. Who'd have thunk it? Who'd have bloomin' thunk it? New nose on my channel in front of my nostril. So adding a little bit on the tip now, and then back into the bridge. I love to pull that part of my face forward where my piercing is. So now we're back to the Juno palette. We have got good old Lavendress, and she is getting right back up in them creases. We're blending down just a little bit around the eye. With that fresh powder, sometimes it can be a bit dusty, and we aren't about all that. So we're going to just top that back up before we move back over to the other shade, Flamingo. My gorgeous, gorgeous blush shade, and that's going to be our last little moment of transition from eyeshadow into our base. Now for the lips, so reinforce your gussets, get your Maybelline Superstay Matte Ink 10 Dreamer out, and basically draw a line straight through your top lip. I use my piercing as a guide, but if you don't have this hole in your face, then well done. So from there, I will draw a little wiggly worm. I don't know how else to explain it, alright, but I try and keep it in line and in theme with the shape of my liner when I do it. You know, you gotta aim for something. So once that's done on both sides, we connect the point down to the corner of the mouth. And repeat that on the opposite side as well. Now I wanted to show you this process because the lips, my lips, honey, they do be a process. So just defining that shape now, making sure it's as tidy as possible. But once again, don't fret, we will tidy it all up later. The main thing is getting that top line in a decent shape. So once we've got our line down, get the good old finger out because we love a good finger here. But yes, blend it all out towards the center. Like you're creating, like, basically what we're creating is almost like 4 ombre lips on one. And I know, I will just say to anyone who's thinking of trying drag, don't do this to yourself. Do not, because there's many steps, but the glamour. So now we're connecting the top to the bottom. Lovely. So now with a small angled brush, we're going back into the neutral palette, into the shade Iris. This is going to really define our lip line and just give me a bit more of a 3D effect. Now obviously, as I'm covering so much surface area, the main focus of all of these steps is to really get it to get some kind of 3D effect. So you can see they're just sweeping along the lip line and blending it out. So now we're going into the shade Jet, which is a black shade, and just tucking that in the corners of the mouth. Back to the foundation, back to the F3. A flat acrylic painting brush, honey, is all you need. Look at that. A little bit of that on the back of your hand. Grab it up with your brush and just tidy up all those sins. Any mistakes you made can all be solved with the Revelation Pro Camouflage Concealer, babes. I promise you. Look, all you gotta do is lay your acrylic paintbrush nice and flat. Swoop it round all them edges. And look how crisp that is. Oh, it's so crisp. So once you've done that and you tidied up how you like, just get your ring finger for that light touch and blend that foundation back out into the base. And look, you'd never know. So now taking the lipstick once more onto a lipstick brush, we're just putting a very light layer of this over the center of the lips to give us this nice kind of, I'm not going to say natural, alright, because I feel like that would be me pulling your leg, but this kind of pinkish nude mouth with a capital F. So yeah, go and fill that all in. And that's going to bring us on to the next step, which is the Glow Monomorph from L'Oreal. Now this is my favorite liquid highlighter for anything, but this is my hack for a glossy lip and you don't want the sticky. Go out and buy her, she's worth it. So I lay this down on all the center top of my lip and blend that in, and then do the same for the 2 lips I have basically on the bottom of my one lip. And we go in with this glitter. Now this glitter I'm obsessed with, but it is a mixture of a few things. A company called Give Face Cosmetics in this shade here is called Disco Ball, but basically it's been discontinued. The company doesn't exist anymore, so it's a bit of that, a bit of the fairy glitter from you get from when you were a kid, and a bit of Stargazer. Their white UV glitter really does give this gorgeous little effect. And I find that because they're quite finely milled, they're not giving you a whole chunky glitter lip experience. So just setting that lip now with a little bit of the e.l.f. Camo foundation powder. And genuinely, ever since I bought that, I'm not going back, babes. I ain't going back. You can't make me. I'm a woman of my own volition, and I will do what I need to in this world to get by. You know it. Then I powdered the tip of my nose and my bridge, and we're on to lashes. So I used the Dark Matter glue by Be Perfect, it's a black glue, and the Blowout Mascara CBD with Makeup Revolution. So I put my mascara on before my lashes. This mascara specifically seems to kind of stiffen your lashes, and mine tend to droop. So I always got to get a coat of this on before I chuck on me chunky lash. Now, we're really lifting the lash by the tip and kind of attaching it at the back of the lash band and putting it into the crease. Because, girl, we need all the support we can get. Look at that. So, once we've got them both on, I put on some hateful setting spray. And then I get a little bit more of my special glitter mix and just tap it on top of my eyeshadow, blending into my blush to kind of create like a new highlight. I have a very oily skin type, so I do find it difficult to wear a lot of highlighter. I mean, I've got that glow naturally. I mean, look at the material. Every time, final touch, a little bit of glitter on the tip of the nose and the bridge. Done. So that's pretty much it. I'm going to go and throw on my wig and get the geesh on, get the drag mama. I've put a little bit of the old makeup on the bosoms, the breasticules. I'll be right back. Thank you for watching this video. If you'd like any more tutorials and beauty videos, then let me know if you want to see anything more in depth. Also, remember to check out the other content I have here on the channel, and I will see you next week. Bye!